having me. Startups are a passion of mine. Why? Because why did I get involved in Pollinizer in 2013? Because I could see this whole startup disruption phase going. I thought, as a grumpy old baby boomer business person, I had to know about the new way of doing business. And the Pollinizer Investment Fund was my first step into this whole area. So, as I was saying, I'm not just on Breakfast TV. In fact, the Sunrise opportunity happened by mistake. It's sort of a hobby that's got out of control. I was asked to fill in on Sunrise for 3 months. That was almost 18 years ago. My real focus is my family business, which is Pinstripe Media, which amongst a group of titles and platforms owns Startup Daily, which is the daily bible for the startup tech scale-up community. Chairman of Port Adelaide Football Club. I'm doing my own startup at the moment with AusBiz. I'll talk about that a bit later, and I have a number of community roles as well. Why did I get involved in the whole sector? Because, as you all know, you wouldn't be here if you didn't believe in this. Disruption's changing the world, and the challenge is up to us to keep up with it, not only in our own businesses, but also our own investment thinking. The world's changed a lot. When you consider the internet was only launched to consumers in 1991, that's not that long ago. Facebook launched in 2004. 4 of the 6 biggest companies in the world are all tech-based now. And it's great to see our share market having its own tech index now as a reflection of how far we've come as well. This is what I say to parents who say to me, oh, what are the jobs of the future? And you say, well, 65% of every kid in your kid's primary school classroom will get a job that hasn't been invented yet. So it's all about flexibility, it's all about changing with the times, it's all about thinking broadly. I love this. What's behind it all? Basically, tech is behind it all. A bloke called Moore invented the microchip. And there's Moore's law is that a microchip doubles every 2 years for 50 years since 1991, the power of a microchip. So Intel's latest chip is 3,500 times more powerful, 9,000 times more energy efficient, 6,000 times lower in cost than that first chip in 1971. Now, if you used a car as an example, a 1971 Beetle would now cost 4 cents. It would have an average speed of 482,000 kilometres an hour and do 1 million kilometres on 1 litre of petrol. So that's how much technology has changed our lives, and Moore's law continues on and on. So, and consumers are responding to it, and also businesses are responding to it as well. Who would have thought, even 10 or 15 years ago, the biggest taxi company owns no cars, that the biggest media and most powerful media company in the world produces no content. The world's biggest retailer carries no inventory, and also the biggest accommodation company in the world doesn't own one piece of property. So it has turned the way we think about business on its head, and will continue to turn it on its head as well. And as a result, our customers are changing too. They're responding to this. Any business owner that says to me, oh, disruption's buggering up my business, you know, those bloody disruptors, I say, no, don't blame the disruptors, blame your customers. Because your customers are actually aligning themselves more with the disruptors because they're providing a better, cheaper, more efficient product or service than you are. So you've got to keep disrupting yourself. Customers are using social and digital to research all the time. 1984, there were 1,000 internet-connected devices. 1992, there were 1 million. 2008, there were 10 billion. In 2020, 50 billion devices connected at the moment. So your passion in this room today has got to be, you've got to ride with this. And you're the classic group that is doing it at the moment because you've come to Emergence today. And if you've got a traditional business, You've got to adopt the thinking of these disruptors, continually pivot to really adopt their sort of business model. And by that, you've got to change your innovation startup, your mindset going forward. I do a lot of small business conferences called the Startup of You. And I say, it starts with you. It starts with you as the individual. You've got to be excited about this, not threatened by it. You've got to be excited by disruption. You've got to be so excited about new tech that comes on. You've got to take an interest and make a passion of it. And it's little things. Challenge your own processes in your own traditional business. Start with the cloud. Start with putting your accounting up in the cloud and having a dashboard. It is the simple things you can adopt to get you on the journey. It's not big and scary. The number of people that say to me, oh, it's for the younger generation, you know, it's way above me. Well, you've got to learn to start getting up there and understanding it. It's not for the younger generation. It is for every generation that is in business and wants to make money into the future. Our customers are changing, they're adapting. We as business owners and investors have to adapt as well. And that's thinking like a disruptor. I get in it. One of the reasons I got involved in this space, and that's why I love Startup Daily as one of our titles. I get to meet all these founders day in, day out. I love picking their brains. It's the beauty of being in the media. You're a necessary evil. People feel as though they've got to talk to you. So I use it as a great opportunity to pick their brains, pinch their ideas, and hopefully use them myself. I do tell them at the start that that's what I could be doing, but it's just that constant education and learning how they think. How are they different? They're constantly bold. They're not afraid to reinvent themselves. They assess other industries and look for opportunities, for gaps going forward. They learn from the mistakes of industries that were too slow, like mainstream media, like newspapers, like taxis, like the music industry. They re-engineer their cost base. They get rid of legacy system cost bases and try and reinvent themselves to be more efficient and to match the revenue. And they're prepared to pivot constantly. You know, one of the worst of many habits of myself is admitting a mistake. You know how you launch a product or you make a decision, doesn't quite come off, and you think up some excuse why it didn't. Oh, I'll let it go a bit longer, I'll let it go a bit longer, it'll come good. Never does. You make the hard decision to change, and you think that after you've made the decision, you think, why didn't I do that 6 months ago or 3 months ago? Disruptors and founders do it constantly. They're not afraid to do it. So they're constantly using key performance indicators to take out the emotion of their decision making. What's the future trends for business for us all? Smartphones are going to rule the world. It's as simple as that, and you're seeing it in your own habits. It's all about video. Text, content and text messaging really is sort of being diminished by the power of video. It's all about building a tribe. Building a tribe will never be more important, but that tribe is being constantly bombarded by other messages, other competitors, other groups that want to take them away from you. But if you can get a sticky tribe behind you, you're a winner. There is going to be the internet everything. There's going to be that mass customization, and being an early adopter of whatever comes next is really important. Even in your investing, is to invest in a portfolio of investments and products. Even at that early stage, and by building a portfolio, yes, some are going to go by the wayside. I've invested in 5 startups. 3 have gone terrifically well. I've lost everything on the other 2. As a group of 5, I'm probably just ahead from an investment point of view. From a professional development point of view, what I've learned from that experience has been absolutely massive. So, what have I invested in? I'll only go through the good ones. I won't embarrass the 2 that I've lost everything in. And you know, I'm judicious on how much I invest. You know, it makes up about 10% of my portfolio. 90%, 80% is in traditional investment markets. But I love this startup space. Pocketbook, Was bought out by Zip Money last year. I was a seed investor there. Got about a 5 or 10x return on that. Being bought by Zip allowed me to exit and use my money to invest in other startups. Advisor Ratings is sort of the TripAdvisor of financial advice and financial planning. My background is finance, so I tend to go to areas that I'm comfortable with, and transparency to get good advice and good financial advice has never been more important for consumers, and Advisor Ratings does that. It's sort of a listing of all the financial planners in Australia. I know it's a bit nerdy, but I'm a nerd and I like nerdy stuff. And their clients rate them like, if you're a TripAdvisor user, you rate your accommodation and give comments. What's exactly the same for financial planning. And the third one is Avari, which is an insurtech business. It's developed more into a SaaS type product, helping big insurance companies globally re-engineer their legacy systems in terms of managing insurance. And it's just had 2 international insurance companies buy in as strategic partners, which gives me a lot of confidence that they're heading in the right direction. So they're the 3 I've invested in. What have I learnt from being an investor in startups? Invest in the right founder. Could be the best idea in the world. You could be so keen on it, but if the founder can't cope with growth, can't cope with building a management team for growth going forward, doesn't have people skills or relationship building, and refuses to get people in to cover that, well, it's a real problem. So I always look for the founder first. The idea has to solve a problem, which is great. Sometimes customers don't know they've got a problem, and there are many instances of new tech that's come in disruptors, and customers had never thought of it. When they see it, it's like a light bulb moment. That's terrific. So that's important to distinguish that. Users' key point is that, yes, that light bulb moment for a customer says, I love this, but then the next light bulb moment is, will I pay for it? That's a key, because I go back to basic business principles, and everything I invest in is that it's got to have customers, it's got to have revenue, it's got to make a profit at some time. Yes, companies can be losing money and have a valuation through the roof. I see that as not sustainable. Will always be a time where it goes back to basic investment fundamentals. Will it make a profit? Are there customers? Does it generate revenue? Can they control the costs? And then the other thing I've learned from all these founders is, and this is I had an old-fashioned sort of business temperament that said, if you're going to launch a product, you've got to get it just right. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be 100% perfect. Whereas founders these days go, no, get it to 75 or 80% and let your customers finish off the other 25%. Sort of, you've got to be more customer-centric and be more collegiate with your tribe in making sure you're developing the best product for them. And I think that's really good advice. Now, I've just been a founder. So I've gone from an investor to a raiser. And so that's quite an interesting contrast, because it's very easy to actually be wooed as an investor. When you've got to woo investors, it's very different. So I'm just completing a raise for a startup now called Ausbiz. Australia doesn't have a business and finance TV channel anymore. Because Sky Business and Your Money was closed down last year. It was a joint venture between News and the Nine Network. Why? Because it was legacy TV is very expensive to run, and also the viewing audience is quite small, but it's rich and powerful. And with broadcast TV, you don't know who they are. They're just a number that comes out on daily ratings. So the founder or the chief executive of Your Money and Sky Business, who used to work for me, came and said, Kochie, why don't we do a streaming service? at the moment, investors and business people in Australia just get Bloomberg and CNBC as their business coverage. Bloomberg's based in Hong Kong, CNBC's based in Singapore. They really don't cover the Australian business and finance markets very well at all. Doing a streaming service, think the Netflix of business and finance in Australia, but at its core is 9 hours of live coverage of markets and business news during the day, from 8:30 till 4:30, 5:30 of a day. All based, you can watch on your smart TVs or through the AusBiz app. Goes live on the 30th of March. So, and the other big difference is that you'll be able to transact through this platform as well. We will, of course, cover the top 200 companies, but we will have a skew towards mid and small caps, private equity, scale up. We'll even have a sort of equivalent of Shark Tank. Steve Baxter is going to be chairing that panel. That those founders who are raising money will pitch their idea to this panel of experts, and you as a viewer will be able to go direct access to their data room using CRISP if you're interested in investing money. So you'll be able to invest elsewhere, you'll be able to invest in property syndicates all through the app. So it's been an interesting exercise for us. Financial markets and institutions have been really positive. As I say, we go live on the 30th of March. What have I learnt from being a founder and raising money rather than being an investor? Number one, the investor group needs to add more than just money. They've got to add networks, they've got to add skills, they've got to add expertise. So the group of investors has got to be really important. You've got to create a FOMO in the raise as well, fear of missing out, because the easiest thing for an investor to do is to go, oh, if it's not urgent, why should I do it now? Why should I put it off for a week or whatever? You've got to create a FOMO behind the idea, saying, if you don't invest now, you're going to be missing out into the future. And also, hopefully have a group of investors good enough to create that buzz amongst potential investors. You've got to also develop a buzz amongst staff as well, because obviously as a startup, you're not going to pay top dollar, so they have to see a future that they can benefit themselves going forward. And also juggling cash flow is really important until you get the cash cow coming through a little later. So it's been very different raising money than actually being an investor, but a fascinating one. Who are the entrepreneurs that inspire me in this ecosystem? I have a personal campaign for optimism. Anyone who grizzles to me, I say, what the hell are you grizzling about? We've had 28 consecutive years of positive economic growth. We have got record cheap money at the moment. According to the Credit Suisse Global Wealth Index, the average Australian is the 3rd wealthiest in the world. And we've got good jobs growth. Give me a break. And they go, oh, where are the jobs coming from? You know, Target's getting rid of jobs, Holden's closing down. I say, let me tell you about Canva. Probably my worst investment decision was not to invest in them about 3 years ago. Canva is the digital online design business. Mel and Cliff, they're about to get married, 33 years of age. Last valuation from their last raising out of America, $3.8 billion. Based in Surrey Hills, employ 1,200 people, will be 2,500 people this time next year. Extraordinary. Ashik Ahmed. Now, we've got all these groups in the news now underpaying staff. He developed a little rostering app that now has turned into more a human resources app. Qantas and Bunnings are two of his biggest customers at the moment. Remember, they got caught for underpaying staff early last year. They've now adopted deputy. Ashik came out as a 5-year-old with his parents, Bangladeshi refugees, employs 400 people in Piedmont, valuation of about $1 billion at the moment. Just extraordinary. They're the future of this country. They're the types of people and businesses to get you excited. And that's what today is all about, to try and get on board early stage with the new age Canva or deputy. we're not going to have time to go through this video, so we'll skip this, but as I say, I spend a lot of time with great entrepreneurs. Jack Dorsey, I spent about an hour with last year. Oh, shall we skip through? There we go. One of the things I want to leave you with, and one of the things that attracted me to him and what I learned from him, here's a guy who's a founder of not one but two billion-dollar companies, Twitter and Square. And I said, how do you cope with that? How's the process that you cope going forward? And he goes, I have a routine every day. I do whatever it takes to make a decision instantly. I start my day like you've already won. He has a 7-minute workout routine that he can do anywhere, just needs a wall and a chair. He meditates for 20 minutes a day, and he takes 45 minutes to get to his first appointment, and in that 45 minutes he listens to podcasts. So when he starts the day, he's achieved so much for himself because he's the dynamo of the organisation. So he meditates, he exercises, he learns, and he invests in himself. And every big decision he makes is when someone asks him for a decision, he has one filter. He asks himself, does this decision really truly matter? If it doesn't, it's not worth spending the time on. So I love this whole area. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Appreciate your time, and highly recommend Startup Daily if on a daily basis you want to be kept up with the tech and scale-up community. Thanks for having me.